All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to today's training seminar on tax-free retirement. Now, this is a live webinar that we are conducting right now, but we, of course, are getting this recorded. There's a good chance possibly you are watching this on YouTube later, which is fantastic. And our subject today is going to be talking about tax-free retirement planning. And exactly what is that and what are some of the strategies that we can use. So I appreciate everybody taking the time to hop on today's call. My name is Joe Johnson. I'm the president and CEO of the company. I also have on Michael Mahalik, who's our director of agency development, and Jimmy Hernandez, who we're going to be hearing from with a lot of input. Not only is a big part of the team agency director, Jimmy is also an investment advisor representative as well as a tax advisor. So, gentlemen, thank you for hopping on today's call and assisting me with this presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's going to be a great program. Guys, here's the thing about it is that, you know, talking to clients, and not only clients, but talking to insurance agents and advisors, what I have found is that a lot of people out there, including advisors, have no idea that there is an IRS approved plan that's really been around since the 80s. If I say the name E.F. Hutton, I'm sure a lot of people may, if you're a little bit older, you may recognize that. If you remember those old commercials of the E.F. Hutton. Well, E.F. Hutton was one of the first ones to really figure out how to use these programs and utilize the codes that already existed with the IRS to develop a tax-free retirement strategy. But that's what we're going to be talking about today is a program that allows you to grow your retirement nest egg tax-free and also risk-free, which I think is a huge deal, is to be able to have a not only tax-free, but also a risk-free plan in order to do that. And how do we do this? Well, we use this with an insurance program that, like I said, it's been around since the 80s, but it's got a little bit of a twist to it. What we're going to show you how to do is actually take permanent cash value life insurance, but minimal life insurance. So in other words, the least amount of insurance that you can get, but we're going to show you how to put a tax-free twist to it. This is called an Index Universal Life. We refer to it just as IUL. The thing about the IUL, it is a IRS approved program that allows you to use tax strategies that are guaranteed to give clients no loss of their principal and also no loss of their interest as well. Now, this how is this done? Well, there's an actual IRS code. It's in section 72 and it's 7702 that talks about how you can use permanent cash value life insurance to be able to make tax-free withdrawals. I just wanted to point this out to let you know this is a totally legitimate tax strategy that has been used for over 40 years now. The thing about it is that, like I said before, most people maybe they've heard of it, but they have no idea the power of what an IUL can actually do for the consumer. And it's actually using by the power of indexing. And the power of indexing allows us to receive stock market-like returns, but with downside protection. I think everybody would like to be able to have a program where they could invest and then they only got the gains and they never got the losses. It almost sounds too good to be true, but it's really not. And I'm going to show you an illustration. And indexing has been around for quite a while. What I'm going to do real quick is just get me a highlighter so I can highlight this. Give me 1 second. We're going to do this in red. Now, guys, this is an actual illustration that actually does show what the S&P 500 did if we're going back to 1998, and we're just going to go to 2016 and just kind of show you what happened. Now, if you were an investor and you put in $100,000 into the market, okay, and it was your investments were totally in the S&P 500. As you can see, from early 98 up into 2000, that you were doing actually pretty good. You can see how it jumped up here, and you actually went all the way to 136,000. Okay, but because of through no fault of your own, and this proves the point just how volatile the stock market can be and the S&P 500 can be, is that we all remember what happened in 2001 with 9/11 with the terrorist attack, and how everything came to a screeching halt. Our entire world came to a halt. The stock markets crashed. Everybody thought the world was coming to an end. And you can see is that if you had your money at the high point and you left it in the market, by 2002 you would have lost almost half of what you had in. Okay, now if you had the wherewithal, I guess, to say, hey, you know what, if you were a smart investor, I guess, when the market was declining, you would have probably invested more and invested more. What most people did is that they panicked and they sold at the wrong time, and they never got those gains back. I know a lot of people that had money in the stock market and they have never gotten back in. Okay, but as you can see, if you would have stayed in, eventually it would have gone back up, had you not sold your stocks. However, if you had your money in an indexing strategy, as you can see, as the stock market is increasing, the green line here shows the ratchet effect of the index strategy. So you are participating in the gains. You're not quite getting exactly what the S&P is performing, but you're participating. Your calculation is based on a percentage of what the S&P 500 does. So as you can see, is that you had a nice growth. You went from 100,000 to a little bit over 125,000. But when the tragedy of the crisis of 9/11 happened, if you had your money in an indexing fund, instead of going negative, all of your principal plus your gains would have been locked in, and you would have simply stayed even for 2 years. Do you know how many people would have loved to have 0% interest for 2 years straight during those times? Now, as the market rebounded and started going back up, your indexing strategy is also increasing as well. Now, again, we had the housing bubble, because of the loans that were going on, and then we had the market crash, the housing crash in 2008, and I mean that lasted what, 3 or 4 years practically. So if you would have had your money in the market as it went down, unfortunately, what happened is that a lot of people, they didn't hang on. They got panicked. They saw it wasn't getting any better. I mean, the market would go up, then it would go down, it would go down, it would go down. And a lot of people just sold what they had in fear, in panic, because they were afraid that we're going to lose everything. But again, my point is that if you would have had your money in an index strategy, like we're going to show you, is that you get to sleep peacefully at night because you knew that your 156,000 was locked in. Your principal and gains were locked in, and you were guaranteed never to lose any money. The market starts going back up. You're on the ratchet effect. You're going up. So this is just a real quick illustration to kind of show you the power of indexing and why an index strategy is better than owning individual stocks. Jimmy, is there anything that you would like to elaborate on this illustration before we move on?
What I'd like to point out, because myself, like many other Americans, experienced this. And from 98 to 2009, that's roughly an 11-year period, my money was broke even. So it was like having no return, right? So for 11 years, it took 11 years to get back to zero. So that, I mean, that's kind of a real frustrating thing when, you know, when you're trying to save for retirement.
Yeah.
And in this case, if you were in the indexed fund, you can see a substantial difference. We then went on, obviously, to the longest bull market, and started recovering. But that's the beauty of the index, is that it's capturing a percentage, or a piece of that action, and it's going up. And then whenever it drops again, it just stays flat.
Yeah, you're exactly right. In fact, on this illustration, if you look back in 98, you can see this individual. This illustrates you started out with 100,000, and you go 11 years later, it's at to 2009. It's exactly about the same. So most people don't have the discipline to weather the storm. They get out too soon, they get out too early. Indexing, it takes all the guesswork out of it. You don't have to really worry about it. I think everybody knew who's Warren Buffett is. Net worth. This slide's a little bit old. It's 66 billion net worth. It may be more than that, but Warren Buffett has two rules of investing. Rule number one: never lose money. Rule number two: never forget rule number one. So the point is that that's why we're big fans of indexing, because you can sleep good at night and you never have to worry about losing your money. If you would like to get a little bit more educated and if you like to read, these are two really good books that I would recommend that I've read. The first one that I read was Tax-Free Retirement by Patrick Kelly, and then a couple of years later he came out with another book, Retirement Miracle by Patrick Kelly. I've read both these books. I've also attended several of Patrick Kelly's workshops in person, and I own a lot of his training and educational material that I listen to a lot. I think he writes really good material, very easy to read. It's great for consumers, and it's also great for agents as well. So what we're going to be talking about next is tax-free income, and really what can it do for you? Well, tax-free income can do a lot for you. One, it can help secure your retirement and obviously generate a tax-free income that we're going to be talking about. You can also use it to finance auto loans or larger expenditures. You can use it to reduce your debt or even increase your amount of your savings. You can build up an emergency fund. So if you have an unexpected emergency, you can pull money out. You can even use it for a college fund. If you want to send your maybe your children or your grandchildren, you can set it up for that. One of the just real cool things about using this particular program for college funding is if you've ever had a kid apply for college, you have to fill out the financial form, okay? The FAFSA. The great thing about this program is that most colleges do not require you to disclose cash value life insurance. You have to disclose all your other assets, but you don't have to disclose typically most, except for some of your big schools, like when I say big, like the Ivy League schools, Stanford, Harvard, Yale. I think with those schools you're required, but most of your state schools, you do not have to disclose cash value in life insurance. You can also use it to protect your family and your estate. You can even use it for business, for business buy-sell agreements, or maybe a key person coverage as well. So it's very versatile as what you can use it for, as well as our main goal of today's topic, which is the tax-free retirement. Also, the Index Universal Life Policy has no income limitations. What does that mean? It doesn't matter if you make 30 grand a year or $30 million a year. There's no limitations to who can actually get an IUL, unlike other programs like a Roth IRA, which is another tax-free vehicle, but it has a lot of limitations as far as your income, has limitations as far as your contributions, how much you can put into it. With the IUL, you have virtually no limitations on the contribution limitations. You have penalty-free access to capital. You also have immediate life insurance. So not only are we going to show you how to build a tax-free retirement, but my God, what happens if something happens and you pass away prematurely? We're also going to show you how this program can provide your family with an immediate tax-free death benefit. And like we talked about before with the indexing, the IUL also provides an annual reset feature that allows you to earn money when the market goes up, but you're protected. You lose nothing when the market goes down. Also, a properly structured IUL allows you to accumulate money tax-free, withdraw money tax-free, and transfer money to your heirs tax-free. An IUL can provide protection. It can help you lock in your principal from losses, which we talked about, but also the IUL helps you protect and lock in your contracted gains as well. So what that means is, as your money on your anniversary date of your IUL, whatever gains you've locked in, they're locked in for life. You can never go negative on those gains. The other really cool thing about an IUL is that it provides something called flexible premiums with a catch-up provision. What does that mean? Well, that means it's not like a traditional whole life where you have set premiums and you're required to make those minimum premiums. With an IUL, you have a lot more flexible premiums. You can start it out with less money and you can gradually increase it. If you're a business owner and your business, maybe you're having a bad quarter and your cash flow is not that great, and you can't put as much money into this program as what you wanted to, you can always lower your contributions. The unique thing about this is it's got a catch-up provision that allows you to put more money in later. Now, with this program, there are limitations as far as how much you can put in. The IRS sets limitations. You can't put in too much money. It's all based on the face amount. What we're going to do is show you how to maximize and get the biggest bang for your bucks and maximize the most that you can put in without any of the money being taxable. But what's unique about this program, unlike, let's say, a 401k, let's say you got a 401k or even an IRA or like a Roth, and you're putting money into that, there's limitations of how much you can put in. But let's say, let's say you've got some finances going on, and with your job, you're not quite able to put in as much money into your 401k as you would like to. But then, maybe you get some debt paid off, you get a raise, and you really want to put more money in, and you want to catch up for all those years that you weren't able to put in the maximum. The IRS does not allow you to do that. There's no catch-up provision in a Roth IRA or in a 401k. You can only put in the maximum allowed for that one particular calendar year. That's the one thing I love about an IUL. It's something that I use, personally own 3 of these products, that when business is going good, or if I come into a lump sum of money, it allows me to dump that money into my IUL. And that's simply what this illustrates. Now, Jimmy, at any time, I don't mean to hog the floor, so please feel free to interrupt at any time, okay?
I'd like to just say something real quick, and I'll try to be brief.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people, when we're showing this, they usually have the question, well, how can you, give me, I guess you can say a portion of the gain and not lose any money? How is that? And so I just want to explain real quick how that works. So the insurance companies, they invest their money into premium corporate bonds, and that gives them a fixed return. So the money is not actually invested in the S&P 500 or any index. It's invested into corporate bonds. But they learned a way to turn pennies into dollars. And what they do is they usually take 1 to 3% of that total amount invested, and they're going to use that to buy options in the index. Now, the index could be the S&P 500, it might be the Dow Jones, it might be the Barclays index, but whatever index that you allocate it to, they're going to use a portion of those funds to buy options. And then what happens when they measure the on your policy anniversary, when they measure the growth or loss of the market, or the index rather. So if this, just stick with the S&P 500, if it had, let's say, a 20% gain, then they're going to go ahead and exercise their option, and they're going to simultaneously buy and sell at the same time to capitalize that gain. Then in return, they're going to share that with you, and you're going to participate either a percentage like 75% of the growth, or you're going to share 100% up to a cap, like that cap might be 12 or 13% as an example. But so you're going to share that growth. But if the index were to lose money, well, then they just don't exercise the option. There's no loss. They take a zero and you take a zero. So that's how it works. And I thought I'd just explain that, because some people are saying, like, that doesn't sound right. How can that happen? Well, this is how they do it. So back to you, Joe.
That's some high level stuff there, Jimmy. Nice job, man. So guys, what we're going to transition into now is we're just going to talk about why is having a tax-free portfolio important. Now, we're not suggesting that you should put all your eggs in one basket, okay? It's good to be diversified. We're not saying an IUL should be your only retirement plan. We're just suggesting that you should consider it for certainly a portion of it. Because when you do retire, I'm assuming that most people would like to have as much of their money be tax-free as possible. And we're going to show you or illustrate why having tax-free retirement, I feel, is so important. Well, something that we don't really talk about a lot, but that is the U.S. national debt. Currently, if you were to Google it, or if you were to go to the U.S. debt clock, you could see it's just a little bit over $26 trillion. Now, this illustration that you see on my screen, guys, this is to size. This is accurate. This mound of money, if these were all $100 bills, this is what $26 trillion looks like. It's almost unbelievable and almost hard to conceive that that's what 26 trillion looks like. Our national debt is growing on an average of about $4.5 billion per day. Guys, take a look. This is what $1 billion looks like. If you were standing next to $1 billion and these pallets of money, those were all $100 bills, that's what $1 billion looks like. This is what $4 billion looks like. This is a snapshot that I took just the other day. You can Google it. Just Google the U.S. debt clock, and you can see right here our national debt is currently at 26 trillion 800 million and growing very, very quickly. Now, why is that important to us? Well, at the end of the day, there's only two ways that the U.S. government can combat the national debt. One is spend less, and quite frankly, I don't see that happening. The second is tax more. I'm no genius, but my prediction is a good chance taxes are going to be higher in the future. You got to ask yourself, what direction are taxes going? At the end of the day, there's really only three ways they can go. They can go higher, they can go lower, or they can stay the same. My bet, if I had to place a bet today, my guess would be is that in 20 years from now, that taxes are going to be higher than what they are today. That's just a guess. Time Magazine wrote an article a while back talking about the 401k. Why is it time to retire the 401k? Says the ugly truth is that the 401k is a lousy idea. It's a financial flop. It's a rotten repository for our retirement reserves. Why? Well, it's because in what we're going to be talking about is deferring your taxes isn't necessarily the best thing. Now, if you've got a job and your job is providing with a great 401k savings plan and you're getting matching dollars, no way, shape, or form are we suggesting that you stop funding your 401k. We're simply suggesting that you diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Yes, fund your 401k, get the maximum tax deduction that you can in today's money, especially if you need it, but also consider an IUL as an additional retirement and savings plan for the future. And we're going to show you right now, Jim and I are going to show you kind of the difference between the taxation on a traditional, we're going to lump IRAs and 401ks into the same box because they kind of work together. The big benefit of a 401k is that as you make your monthly contributions into your 401k, is that it's a tax benefit. It reduces your taxes for that particular calendar year. As an example, if you contribute $10,000 into your 401k and you're making $100,000, it's going to reduce your net tax liability down to $90,000. So instead of paying taxes on 100k, you're now only paying taxes on 90,000, which sounds really good. What most people don't realize, however, is that if you take all things into consideration, if you're 35 or 40 years old and you have kids and you have a mortgage, chances are you're probably at the lowest effective tax rate that you will ever be in your life. Why? Because you have the most amount of deductions. You've got a house with a mortgage, that's a tax deduction. You may be paying for daycare, that's a tax deduction. You have children, you have dependents, that's a tax deduction. Hopefully, when you're 65 years old and you're retiring, your house is paid off, so you don't have a mortgage. Hopefully, you don't have any kids, so you lose your dependent deductions. So you lose a lot of your deductions as you're older. And what happens in this 401k is that in this example, and we're comparing the money is equal. In this example, we have a person that over their lifetime at this particular job, they invested into their 401k $50,000, and they had a nice growth. It actually tripled, and they deferred the growth and they deferred the taxes. Now it's grown to $150,000. Well, guess what? With a traditional IRA 401k, 100% of that money is now taxable. So instead of paying taxes on 50k, Uncle Sam wants taxes on $150,000. So my question to you is, would you rather pay taxes on 50,000 or 150,000? We're going to make an argument that it's better to pay your taxes now when you actually know what the rate is versus deferring the taxes to an unknown rate. Because not only are you deferring your taxes, you're also deferring the calculation. There's nobody on this call that can tell me what taxes are going to be in 15 or 20 years from now. In an IUL, we're going to show the same thing. This particular person put in 50,000. The difference is they put in 50,000 of their earned income, which they've already paid taxes on. They put it into a tax deferred vehicle, like an index universal life. It grew to 150,000, but now they're able to take tax-free withdrawals on this 150,000 and not pay taxes on it. Now, my question to you is, which sounds better to you? Paying taxes on 150,000 on a tax rate that's unknown, or pay taxes on 50,000, which you know the rate and be able to take tax-free withdrawals on the 150. Jimmy, would you like to expand on this a little bit?
Yes, Joe, this is the number one question I get from people that, have accumulated quite a bit of, I'm going to say, assets in their qualified plan, whether it be a 401k or 403b or IRA. There's various different qualified plans. They all work the same way, but the number one question I get is, how do I get it out? Because many times they want to take out a chunk. I mean, some want a distribution of income, but in many cases, people want to take out 300, 400, 500,000 because they're interested in investing that maybe in a real estate project or some other business venture, but they need a large pool of money to invest. And the problem is, not only are they going to pay taxes on that distribution, but that is added to their current income and thus putting them in a much higher tax bracket. So, I mean, that truly is the most common, I guess you can say, challenge that we have today with people that have saved up. So, having an alternative tax-free retirement system is definitely, worth looking at. And so back to you, Joe.
Awesome. Jimmy, I'm actually going to turn it over to you. I've got your slide that you wanted to use to compare the different type of investment plans.
Okay, thank you, Joe. So folks, what this shows you right here, we're taking a 40-year-old male and putting in $6,000 a year into an IRA, which is, the current limit. And we just projected that at an 8% return. And so they contribute that money into the program for 20 years, so until he's age 60. And you can see there under column number 1 all the way to the bottom, it says 120,000. So that's what they put into it. And then you can see by year the growth. I'm sorry, we're not showing you the growth part. We're showing you the income part. On the right-hand side, they put in the same $6,000 a year for the same 20-year period, same total investment of 120,000. Okay. So you can see, let's say on column number 5, column number 4, before they start taking deductions or withdrawals, the account grew to 487,000. On the insurance side, if you look where it says Flex for Life or Flex Life, the account value is column number 8, and that was 384,000. So at that point, obviously the 8% had a higher yield. The insurance side only had I believe it was 5.59%. Yes, it's there in the center on top above the charts. So right under 6%. But the difference here is the tax-free calculation. So this individual wants to take out 36,652 after tax. He wants to add that to his retirement. So Joe, if you want to circle that there in box number 2, the very first year, 36,652.
Yeah, this is the distributions here.
Yep, that's his after-tax distribution. And then also on the life insurance side, box number 7, it's the same number. So we're taking out the same amount of money every year. The thing is that because he has to allot for taxes, right, his money runs out quicker. So at the age of 85, he's having to take out 21,000 and then he's done. There's no more money in the account at age 86. If you move over back to the life insurance side, there's still money in that account and it lasts up to age 89. And if you look at the very bottom, total distribution was 733,000 versus on the left 571,000. So because of the tax-free component, the money lasts longer. And also during this whole time period, there was a death benefit that we never talked about. because this is a life insurance policy, the life insurance is the foundation of the retirement plan. So the initial death benefit was 182,000. As his cash value is accumulating, that's adding on to the death benefit. And so if they were to have a premature death and died anywhere in that 20-year period, the family or his beneficiary is still receiving not only the initial death benefit, but added to that whatever cash value was accumulated. You can see going back to age 90 on the Flex Life on the bottom, there's still a death benefit of 85,000. So even though they ran out of money, there's still a death benefit, and at 91 it's 91,000. So there's still some interest calculating and coming in there to achieve that. So I mean, you tell me, Joe, you know, the life insurance policy in the end has more value. The income lasts longer. You have some death benefit. You know, we didn't even talk about the living benefits that are associated with
Right.
it, but we can talk about that on an individual basis. But you're just getting, you know, more value in the long run. And going back to what you said earlier, I mean, an IRA is not a tax-free vehicle. It's a tax-deferred vehicle. You're just putting that off to a later date. Now, here's another big difference is, let's say you did pass away before your funds are matured. I mean, a lot of times people have several $100,000 in their IRA or 401k and they pass away. Well, under the current law, which changed back in December, your beneficiary has 10 years to just take a distribution on that money. So whatever's in that account has to be withdrawn within a 10-year period. It doesn't have to be, you know, 10 equal years, or they don't even have to take anything out in any particular year. But by the end of the 10th year, they have to take the total distribution and pay taxes on it. Going back to the Flex Life, the IUL, it's tax-free. So whenever your beneficiary receives that benefit, it's 100% tax-free to them. So Joe, I'll turn it back over to you, sir.
Awesome, guys. We'll go ahead and continue. I guess one of my questions is that if you think of yourself, why did the government allow or put in the 401k or the IRA? Like, what's the benefit to the government to allow people not to pay taxes on their current income? Well, the ugly truth is that it was actually pretty smart on the government's part, is that as you think you're building your retirement fund, the government is building their retirement fund at the same time, because they know if you put in 50,000 of your own money, that there's going to be taxes on the total calculation, and that they're going to receive a lot more revenue later. So just think about that as you're putting money into these tax deferred program, is that you're deferring that, like we said before, the calculation as well. And that's one of the reasons why the government does push very, very hard for you to put as much money into your 401k as possible, because you're also funding Uncle Sam's retirement plan. Or, well, it's like the old saying, you've probably heard this before. If you were a farmer, would you rather pay taxes on the seed or on the harvest? Of course, you want to pay taxes on the seed, not the harvest. And what we're transition into right now, Jimmy, I'm going to flip it back over to you, and just tell us a little bit about the foundation for legacy planning.
Sure, Joe. So this is really a great solution for anybody that has a high tax liability. Maybe you have a high net worth, high income, and therefore you have high taxes. And you're looking for a way to, you know, leave a legacy plan for your family, for your children, your grandchildren. Maybe you like doing charitable giving, and maybe you need some income. So, I mean, this could be all solved, you know, in one, I guess you can say, solution. So I'll just give you a bird's eye view because it is a little bit more complex. But, you know, the 45-second, I guess you can say, explanation of this is you can make a charitable contribution giving what we call an irrevocable donation. That means that once you give it, you can't get it back. And it goes into a charitable trust. And what ends up happening, let's just say, for example, you donate $100,000. It goes into the trust, and you're able to select the charity of your choice. It could be, you know, I don't know, it could be your local church. It could be, you know, the Red Cross. It could be, you know, for cancer, for the youth, but whoever you identify as your charity, what ends up happening is upon your passing, they then receive that donation. Okay. And because it's not an immediate donation, you don't get 100% deduction like if you would just go ahead and giving it to them now. But you do get a pretty nice deduction, and it depends on your age, but approximately 85 to 90% is tax deductible. So let's say you donate 100,000, that gives you a $90,000 tax deduction. You're able to take that all this year or spread it out over a few years. So you're getting an immediate tax deduction. The other thing that it's doing is going into the trust, and it's what they call a pooled income fund. And that money's invested, and you're going to get back some dividend returns for the rest of your life. Is you're going to get an income. Now, the cool thing about that is that dividend income is taxed at a lower rate than ordinary income. So it's tax advantaged. So let's just use an example of, 5%. So maybe you donate the 100,000. You're going to get roughly about a $5,000 income for the rest of your life. Now, that $100,000 is meant or originally intended to go to your family is a legacy gift. Well, then what you do with the $5,000 is you turn around and you buy a life insurance policy to replace the 100,000 you donated, and you still have $100,000 death benefit that goes to your beneficiaries. So you're able to replace that, that charitable, donation. And now when it goes to your beneficiary, you got to understand something. That's 100% tax free, and it also bypasses probate. You don't have to worry about whether it was in the will or not. It's a contract between the insurance company and you. So you're designating who that beneficiary is going to be. So just to wrap it up again, you're able to, donate money to your favorite charity. They get it upon your passing. You're able to generate income that's going to purchase a life insurance policy that will then replace that $100,000 donation that you gave. Now, you don't have to do in increments of 100,000. It could be as little as 5,000. For the very affluent, you might be donating $1 million. It just depends on what your need is. Now, the other thing, I'd like to point out here, Joe, is that you're going to put this into a permanent policy. And there's a lot of questions is, well, how come I don't just put this in a whole life versus an IUL? Well, whole life policies are designed to last to age 121. And because of that, the premiums are higher. When you set this up with an IUL, we can pinpoint what age it's going to last to. So we can say, hey, you know what, people in my family, they're living to, let's say, 92, 93 on average. I don't think I'm going to live much past that. Well, then we can go ahead and just, give some room for, for just in case, and maybe make that last to age 100 or 101 or 105. And then that way we keep that cost down. And then whatever proceeds is left over, if you're getting $5,000 a year, maybe it costs you $4,000 for the policy. Well, you still have $1,000 you're able to put in the bank. So that's a bird's eye view. Maybe it was a little bit longer than 45 seconds, but that is a great way to, get a tax deduction now and do some legacy planning and charitable giving. So Joe, back to you, sir.
Awesome, dude. That was very good, man. Well, I'm gonna have to call you later. I gotta run something by you on this, okay?
Sure.
Um, um, moving on, guys, we are going to talk a little bit about, just very quickly, about what an IUL can provide as a product. We're not promoting any particular company. We're just talking about Index Universal Life in general. Most of the companies out there today do provide living benefits. So it's life insurance with living benefits. It's insurance you don't have to die to use. What we like to say is it provides a benefit if you die too soon. You get that immediate death benefit. If you become ill, if you have a chronic or critical illness, or maybe you're in a really bad accident and you lose your mobility and you really have a lot of problems, it can provide you tremendous benefits while you're living. And then also, if you live too long, what does that mean? Well, that's what we were talking about, is providing you with a tax-free income later in life as a tax-free retirement. Here now, this illustration that I'm going to be showing you is an actual real illustration that we just put together for a real client. We'll call him Bob. Bob is a 43-year-old professional with a really good income. He's making a pretty good income. And we were able to structure this deal where he's going to start his policy with $850 a month contribution. And I'm going to show you that catch-up provision where he's able to put in more money later and then back it off at a later time. The benefit of this program is that if Bob were to pass away prematurely too soon, he's got $1 million of life insurance tax-free to his family. I'm also going to show you how he's going to be able to pull out over $800,000 of tax-free income and still have a death benefit left over. If Bob were to become terminally ill, he's got available $820,000 of funds available. That's if he were to, let's say, have a terminal diagnosis like pancreatic cancer and the life expectancy of less than a year. You can get immediate access to the money. If he becomes chronically ill, can take a benefit of $14,000 a month, which would go a long way to paying bills. A critical illness, a lump sum of $778,000, or a critical injury. Like I said, if Bob were in a serious accident and really needed some help, you have access to the funds in your life insurance policy. What I'm going to show you right now is just a streamlined illustration. And in this particular case, what we were showing this particular client, like I said, age 43, he's going to start out funding his policy with $850 a month, which is $10,200 a year. And as you can see, he's going to make those contributions. These are the planned contributions. This is what we're figuring. Also, remember what I talked about in the beginning. This is flexible premiums. So Bob can increase increase the premiums or even lower the premiums if necessary. But initially, we figured this would be a good plan. By age 48, we figured his practice is going to be going a little bit better, where you can put more money into the program. So at age 49, 7 years into it, instead of $10,000 a year, he's going to start putting in a little bit over $21,000. And he's going to do that until age 55. And then he said, well, Joe, kind of later in life, what I'd like to do, I'd like to maybe slow down with my practice a little bit, maybe do a little bit of traveling. I'd like to kind of drop my the funding down a little bit. No problem, Bob. We can do that for you. We'll drop it down to $12,600 a year. So you can see he's going to fund the program. Ideally, what we're looking for is at least 20 years of funding. And I think with an IUL, really kind of the minimum, you really need probably at least 15 years. Ideally, 20, 25 is best. Remember, with an IUL, the younger you started, the better it is because of the power of compounding interest. But in this scenario, he continued to make contributions until age 65. And in this particular scenario, Bob wanted to start taking distributions immediately upon retirement because he wanted to delay his Social Security. He didn't want to take security at age or Social Security at age 65. He wanted to delay his Social Security so he could get a higher percentage, a higher payout on the Social Security. So at age 66, Bob starts receiving a tax-free income, a distribution from his IUL of $40,000 a year, which is illustrated here. Let me go ahead and switch to screen number 2. We're over on this side now. As you can see, Bob continues with the distribution of 40,000, and we're going to continue those distributions all the way to age 87. So you can see he put in, he contributed to the plan for a little bit over 20 years, and we're figuring distributions for at least 22 years. This at the bottom shows you in total what Bob contributed to his plan was $329,000 of his own money, and he took a tax-free distribution of $880,000 of tax-free money. Now, if Bob were to die, let's say pass away in his 90s, this figure to the far left still shows you what the net death benefit would be. So as an example, let's say, Bob passed away at age 90. Not only did he receive $880,000 of tax-free distribution, he's still leaving a legacy to his family of $368,000 of tax-free income because it is a death benefit. Guys, this is the power of utilizing an index universal life for not just life insurance, but actually building a tax-free retirement. Jimmy, before we wrap it up, is there anything that you wanted to maybe point out or cover on this illustration that I missed? Jimmy, are you there?
Sorry, I had myself muted. You did a great job, Joe.
All right, perfect. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate everyone who attended today. Thanks for watching this tax-free strategy overview utilizing the IUL product. If you want more information, my recommendation is simply, get back with the person who sent you this video, or you can also visit our website, which is www.taxfreeadvisors.com. Of course, you can always call me personally, and I can certainly get you pointed in the right direction. So with that, everybody have a great weekend and take care.